What's up, what's up? It's time for Done Way Past Funny with your host, G.D. Fenderson. Join us as we discuss the art, science, and business of comedy with comedians and comedian adjacent. With this episode's guest, Jennifer Lieberman. It's time to get down and get dope with Done Way Past Funny. Hi, I'm G.D. Fenderson, Certified Forensic Humourist and host of Done Way Past Funny. Thank you for joining us as we continue our interview with comedian, actress, writer, producer, and author Jennifer Lieberman. Enjoy. Now, this is okay. So we're talking about makeyourownbreak.com. Well, Make Your Own Break. That's the name of the company. Make Your Own Break. Your website is makeyourownbreak.com. You offer consulting and you offer workshops. In the consulting, it says, let me check my notes. Production consulting for film and for theater. Yes, I said theater. Yes, I said theater. Sorry, just in case somebody say he didn't say theater, he said theater, right? Because that's how I talk sometimes.
That's okay. And I say theater.
And you also do workshops, independent theater productions, and solo shows. So I guess we can talk about the consulting portion first.
Sure. So yes, I work both in film and theater. So my solo show was a stage piece. And like I said, I used to run a theater company in the East Village, and I produced several off Broadway productions there. And then I produced the solo shows for friends in LA before I did my own. And yeah, I've continued to have one foot in the theater. I did a solo show in Australia. I continue to do theater. I never stopped doing theater. But I also do film and on-screen work. So I produced a web series called Dump Water Divas, which is like one of my favorite things I've ever done. And that's on YouTube. It was a total failure. Like nobody watched it. Nobody signed up. Nobody was interested. But that's okay, because that's the thing with art. You just have to like bleed your soul onto the page or the screen or the stage. And some people get it, and a lot of times they don't. And a lot of times people don't show up. And the reality of being a creative is you're going to have way more failures than successes. Way more. Like now, way more. And you just have to be okay with that. And as long as you have fun doing it and you get something out of the process, it was a success.
Yes.
And so for me, Dump Water Divas was a wild success, even though it never succeeded. Like I had the best time. I got to create my crazy characters. I wrote it with a writing partner. We cast actors who took it to a level of absurdity we never even dreamed it would go. Like it was just so great. And then I have several short films that I've written and produced and starred in. And I've won some awards. I've gotten to go to international festivals. 2 of my projects screened at the Cannes Film Festival in the Short Film Corner. So like when I said, like I wear a lot of hats. So not only can I help people with their theater stuff, I can also help them with their film stuff, because I do that too. And, I'm currently in development with a feature film. I've made several shorts. I've made a web series. Feature film is a bigger beast because it takes a lot more money and a lot more manpower. My short films I was able to do for a few $1,000s, get a lot of stuff donated, get people to work for half their rate or free, and just do it in a day or two. And it's a lot easier to get people to donate their time for a day or two than 20 days of shooting and 20 days of equipment and 20 days, and then months of editing and hours of music. And, so I do have a feature, and that'll be my next big thing that I'm working towards. So I consult with all of that stuff. And and script development for features as well. I do budgets and production schedules for features too, because I've associate produced a feature and I put the schedule and the budget and everything together for that. And I have experience with it. So kind of all over the place, but all in the same kind of swimming pool.
Now, when it comes to budget, a friend of mine who's done a few films says that when you have $1 to make a movie, you actually do not have $1 to make a movie. He goes, he says, if you're really good, what you will do is take that, you will spend 96, if you can spend 96 cents to make that $1, to make that movie look like you spent $1, you're golden. And the less money that you spend, but still make it look like that you put the whole $1 in, the better off you are. And it's a skill. It's a skill set. So where did you learn that skill set?
Oh, great question.
Did you have it? Did you have it before you started producing, or did you realize, oh, wait a second, this $1, I need $1.50. I got to find out where I'm going to get another 50 from. But if I can do this for 75 cents, so where'd you learn that skill set?
So when I started producing, I had no idea what I was doing, and I just didn't have the money. Like, I just didn't. And I just kind of learned as I went. I got sponsors. I was able to find sponsors to, put ads in our program and scrape together a little bit of money that way. The theater company I was part of in New York, we were a resident artist group at a larger company who had space. So we were donated all of our rehearsal time for free. And we were given the performance space for free, but on a contingency. They took the first 12 tickets of every show, and every ticket beyond that, we split 50-50. Okay. So that's when you're doing theater, that's one of the biggest expenses, is you have an upfront cost of paying thousands of dollars for your theater space, and another upfront cost of paying thousands of dollars for your rehearsal space.
Yes.
Excuse me. The fact that we were able to get our performance space and rehearsal space for free, and they only took money off of the back end, is what allowed us to exist.
Right.
So that was major. So that was a big lesson too, of, getting partners, getting in-kind donations, getting deferred, getting people to work for deferred payments. And most of my stuff, like everybody, for the most part, worked for free or minimal. Like when we did Dump Water Divas, the only person, the cinematographer got paid, the editor got paid, and our sound team got paid. I got the music for free from one of my friends. The director did it for free because he was happy to come on board. Once again, it was a 2-day shoot. We shot 6 episodes, 6 10-minute episodes in 2 days.
Wow.
And the cast, everybody worked for free. And we were able at the time, because the new media contract with the Screen Actors Guild was so new, that we were able to Taft-Hartley every single person who worked on the production as an actor. So basically we had a bunch of people who were not union, and we got them their union status through a Taft-Hartley contract. So for a lot of actors in LA, like getting in the union is a several-year process.
Yeah.
So the fact that all of our actors and our extras, we were able to get into the union, was a huge incentive for everybody to come for free. And we fed everybody. I think the bulk of the budget went to feeding all these people. Because even if you're not paying people, you got to feed them properly. We were there for 12 hours a day, and it was a dance spoof. So people were dancing and sweating and, so we did feed them properly. And I just kind of led with that attitude of, this is all I have. This is all I have to make it with. And I'm going to make it no matter what, you know, and if I can get better people to come on for free or come on for deferred or whatever, great. And, you know, I wasn't trying to raise 20 or 30 or 40 or $50,000 to do a short film, because I knew these short films were just calling cards for festivals. They weren't going to go on to become features. They weren't going to be able to monetize in any way. I was hoping, you know, that the web series would go viral or would be able to monetize a little bit on YouTube. But we made that whole project for like $2,000. I think every single project I made for about $2,000. And, you know, including my solo show, like, you know, at least per run, right? Each time I have to rent a theater and do a new mounting and pay a new director, that's another story. But yeah, at this point, I haven't done much. And it's true. It's all about calling in your favors. And if you have a project that other people believe in and that other people think is good and that they want their name on, it's a lot easier to get people on board, right?
Yes.
So like my short film Leash, I approached a female director who actually directed a play that I was a production consultant on. And she liked the idea. She liked the script. And I also said to her, I want to do an all-female principal team. I want a female cinematographer, female editor, female director. I'm a female writer, producer. Like, I want to do a whole female team. And that was really appealing to her. So that kind of extra element is what inspired her to come on board and bring on a cinematographer and bring on an editor, you know? So I was like, what do they say? Like punching above my weight.
Yeah.
Because I had something of value that other people wanted to be a part of. And I think that's one of the big things. It's like, even though these are my projects and they're my calling card or, you know, my vehicle, they also have to serve to be somebody else's vehicle. And the more people who can have ownership over the project, and that's the thing with these creative projects, you know, whose film is it? Well, the director says, my film. The cinematographer says, my film. The editor says, my film. The actors say, my film. The producers say, my film. The writer says, my film. Every single person, because it's such a collaboration, has ownership on the project. And as long as these people are jazzed about the project, they're enthusiastic, they feel like they're showcasing something worthwhile that they might not have had the opportunity to be a part of before. Maybe they get to stretch themselves in a way that they don't normally get cast, or it's a subject matter they just really like the script. You know, if you're offering somebody ownership of something they can be proud of, that's a really big incentive. And I think that's like the good place to start.
Now, this is where does Christy Johnson fit in this? Because this is one of the clips I have here. Is this from that?
Christy. Her name is Christy. Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, Christy Johnson. That's right, Christy Johnson.
Yes. Ever since she was baptized in Mormon. So that's Dumpwater Divas. That's my favorite thing I've ever done.
Okay, yeah, all right. Because you were describing Dumpwater Divas, I wasn't sure, but you never mentioned Christy Johnson by name.
Yes.
Okay. Let me see if I do it. Please.
It's an honest mistake. Most people would not look at the name and say Christy. They would.
Yeah, but I listened to it and I heard her say it, and I'm usually pretty good. I don't usually have Alzheimer's. I don't usually.
You have to go put that in Urban Dictionary. Like as soon as we get off, you got to claim that.
Okay, here we go. Christy Johnson. It's just a clip here. Say it.
Many of my fans remember me as little Christy Johnson. It's now Christy, since I was baptized in Mormon. You know, a born-again Mormon.
I was. Listen, thank you so much, boys. Another time.
I'll see you in the parking lot. Talent stars has invited us back to be on a reunion show. I was part of Macaroni Hate, the dance team that took Talent Stars by storm. We made it all the way to the semifinals, but it wasn't God's plan for us to be the champions. How was that? You want a little more sexy? Jesus is okay with sexy.
Jesus is okay with sexy.
Oh my God. I love her so much. She's so horrible. I love her.
So who or what's the inspiration for Christy Johnson?
Okay. Well, the look was like a little bit of like Madonna in like Desperately Seeking Susan. It was so the whole thing is an 80s dance spoof.
Yes, I'm telling you, to be honest, I mean to cut you, but it kind of reminds me of the old workout videos I used to see in the 80s, like Jane Fonda workout and that kind of thing. That's the kind of look. Jane Fonda, the one from Halloween, what's her name?
Jamie Lee Curtis.
Jamie Lee Curtis, yes. So that's what it reminded me of. Yeah.
So I originally had this idea with an old boyfriend, and basically he bought me like a stereo for my birthday one year in LA, and we were playing music and we just started dancing like idiots. Like we just started dancing like total idiots, having a great time, with my new stereo that he bought for my birthday. And we had this idea of like writing something where we had a dance school and we were dance instructors in some dumpy little small town in middle America, where like 20 years later, like that, we were children on a dance competition show like Star Search or whatever.
Right.
And 20 years later, we're still like the most famous people in the town. And we run the dance school, because the town is so small and
right.
just kind of middle of nowhere, middle America. And I actually said like, it kind of has this like Napoleon Dynamite vibe, when you go into one of those small towns where like all the cars are old, everybody's dressed in like, stuff that's dated,
yes.
The jeans that they're wearing aren't in style anymore. So I kind of had that idea with him, and he and I went in our separate directions. And then when my friend Rebecca asked me if I wanted to write something with her, she's like, my husband bought me this really cool camera. Let's write a short film. Let's just write a short film and shoot something, just the two of us, and we can kind of make something together, a little short. And that's all we intended to do, was make a little short film. And she and I went to a Zumba class on a Sunday morning and then went for lunch. And she used to be a ballerina. She was like a prima ballerina back in the day, when she was like in high school. And I said to her, well, we both enjoy dancing. And I said, this is like, and she knew my old boyfriend. We all went to acting class together in LA. We all met in the same place. And I said, he and I had this idea. And I said, he and I are never going to make this. Like, we're not together anymore. But do you think that this is a fun idea? And I said, we can be like estranged friends, like, and you own the dance school now. And I'm the one that like made it and got out of town. And I come back because they've invited us to be on a reunion show. And that's what it evolved into. But it started off, with somebody else. And then I moved on, and of course I asked him about it, and we wrote one of the roles for him to include him in it, but he wasn't available or didn't want to do it. Actually, we wrote the role, every single role in that we wrote for people we knew. Nobody wanted to do it. Nobody wanted to do it with us. But when we held auditions, and this is another thing too, like for anybody out there who's looking to put a project together, sometimes it's good to go out of your network, because people who know you, and everybody we wrote it for was people from our acting class. We were part of an acting class in a theater company in Santa Monica. And all these people had a frame of reference about us. because we had never really done anything before. This is one of our first projects. So everybody had a point of view and, didn't really take it seriously. But when we posted auditions, like real auditions on a real casting site, and all of these other people who had no idea about anything about our ability or who we were came to audition, they took it really seriously and they really wanted these roles. And when they read the script, like they were into it. So, everybody was happy to be a part of it, as opposed to trying to convince other people, like twisting their arm, like, oh, it'll be such a, like, don't do us any favors. We'll find some actors who are really passionate about this. And that's what we did. And like I said, each actor just brought something that the people we wrote it for would have never brought. Like they brought it, and they went above and beyond with their comedy and with their improv skills, because there was a lot of improv in shooting it as well.
Yes.
And they just went above and beyond. Like I wrote these crazy scenario, crazy characters, crazy dialogue, and these people not only took it seriously, like they committed to it and took it to the next level. And I was just like, this is the best thing ever. Like, this is the best thing ever. Not only did I have so much fun, I gave the gift of bringing all these people on and letting them share their talents and take it to that level. Oh, so good. So I really lament that it never went anywhere.
You just answered a question I did not know I had. Because I have failed miserably many times trying to put together short films and stuff like that. And the mistake I was making, and I didn't realize it until just now, I was trying to get comedians to be in it because that's most of my circle. I should have been reaching out to actors, because there's a difference between the selfishness level of a comedian and that of an actor. The actors, for them, it's like a craft. It's akin to a religion, I believe. But comedians, they're used to, they have a different mindset. I don't know if it's they don't respect other people's words or comedy, but actors are used to taking other people's words seriously. So I think actors, my neighbor produced a shot at pilot, and he wanted me to, he says, do you want to be, do you want a significant part in it? Because he knows I do comedy. He knows I've done 90-minute sets, 90-minute shows. And so he assumed that I could act. And I said, no, I'm not a good actor. I take my words seriously, but your words, the whole time I'll be going, I think I could make that funnier. I think I could make that funnier. No, this is a funeral. I know, but I think I could get the laugh out of this. And so I got minor parts, something that was too short for me to really screw up. But the actors that I worked with, they brought it. Every last one of them became the characters, and they did what was required. Whatever the director would say, I need you to do this. They say, well, how do you want me to do this? Like this? Okay, got it. But I don't think you get the same thing with comedians. Now I'm not saying that there aren't comedians who aren't actors, but if they're not actors, if they don't have the acting bug, I don't think it's going to work out. At least it has not worked out for me. And I think that's the answer to my problems. I've been reaching out to comedians to help me work on short films and stuff. And I should have been reaching out to actors.
Yeah. Yes. And also sometimes you want to reach out to people outside of your network.
Right.
Because they don't have a frame of reference. Right. And that was really beneficial for us. Like, of course, it's heartbreaking when you write a role for somebody and they're not interested. They don't even want to read the script.
Right.
I have a friend who, till this day, he's a friend of mine, and he does stand-up comedy, and he's been on some significant shows. And when I said to him, we're going to do a reading, we're doing a staged reading of my new script. Would you be willing to take a look at it and let me know, if you want to come and be a part of the reading? And he's like, I don't read scripts. Well, then how do you get parts? I don't know how to get parts without reading scripts.
Right.
Okay, fine. Don't read scripts. You don't need to read a script. That's fine. I don't know. I read scripts all the time. I read scripts every week. Anybody sends me a script, I'm happy to read it. You know what I mean? Sometimes I'll charge them. It's if they want feedback, but if it's a script that they wrote a role for me, or it's a script that they're considering me being in, of course I'll read it. Of course I want the role. I want the part. I want to be hired. Yes. Thank you for thinking of me.
Yeah, now we also talk about the workshops. Well, I think did we cover, in your mind, because we talked about consulting, in your mind, do you think we talked about the workshops as well, or?
Well, not really, but basically the workshops is, I've broken it down into 7 steps. And that, I have a new book. If I can
Independent Theater Production for the 21st Century. Yes. I was going to mention that.
Yes. So basically that's a workshop I teach. And most recently I taught it at Toronto Metropolitan University. And I basically broke theater production down into 7 steps. And I've done it for film production as well. I'm not advertising the workshop on my website right now because I'm refining it. But solo show development also, I have 7 steps. And because 7 steps is manageable. If I said like 3,000 steps, people would be like, no, thank you. Right. I don't have 3,000 of anything. I don't even have $3,000 in my bank account. Like, no, thanks. No, so 7 steps is like a manageable number that people can kind of bite off and chew, but it's enough steps to like break it down into isolated kind of movements, right? So yeah, I basically have broke down, film and theater production and solo show development into these manageable bite-sized pieces that are digestible, in order to help other people kind of learn the ropes of what to do. And I do think it's beneficial. Like if you're going to spend thousands of dollars on a production, you might want to take a little crash course in, how to do it, basically. Yeah. And that's what the book is. So it's like, okay, you don't want to take the time to do a course with me. Take a look at the book. And it's very concise, doesn't sugarcoat anything. It might be a little too blunt and a little too straightforward because I don't sugarcoat it. I break down numbers. I break down the reality of like, you're probably not going to make money. Don't take money out of your pocket. Here are some different avenues how you can raise money. Here's the order. Here's how you find people. Basically the nuts and bolts of like what you need to do to get your production off the ground.
I wish I'd met you 10 years ago. I wish I'd met you 10 years ago. Honestly, I've now the best advice I was ever given was that I should just don't wait for an opportunity, make my own. But that was all they said. That was all they told me. They didn't tell me any of the other stuff. And so I've done probably 1, 2, 3, I think 4 90-minute shows. I've been doing comedy for almost 12 years. So in that time, I've done 4 90-minute shows that I've written and performed.
Amazing.
And again, I'm not trying to toot my horn as much as the fact that if I didn't do it, I'd be waiting for someone else to discover me. And I'm too prolific a writer, and I can't do like a regular comedian will sit there and go, well, I'm going to perfect my 5-minute set and my 7-minute set. By the time they've perfected their 7-minute set, I've written another 90-minute set. And I don't have time to perfect it. I can act it out and it'll be great and entertaining. But the amount of money, so I call this overall documenting my funny. That's what I call it, documenting my funny. It's not that I expected these shows to make me a star. It's just that when my star fades, I want some evidence that I at least tried to shine. So that's what it's all about. But if I had known you 10 years ago, If I had this information 10 years ago, I probably could have saved a lot of, I still would have done those 4 shows. I just probably could have done it in a more sensible manner.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's one of the big things is like, we all get so excited our first time around. We get excited with our first show, our first idea, you know, and of course we think we're the exception. If we didn't think we were the exception, we wouldn't be doing what we do. If we didn't think we were the one who was going to break through, we wouldn't be doing this, you know. However, I really like to bring artists back to reality and be like, you might be the one to break through. I hope you are the one to break through, but chances are it's not going to be your first rodeo. It might be your 5th or your 6th or your 10th. You know, it's very rare that like your first time out of the gate, it's a hit. And, you know, yeah, that's the big thing. And I learned that in New York producing theater when I was running that little theater company. And so first of all, I never had the money and I didn't have access to the money. I didn't know where to get it from on a large scale, but I knew, you know, I could do it for a small amount of money and call in favors and offer, like I said, offer things to other people that they would be proud to be a part of, you know, and that they would get something out of it in the creative sense and in the calling card sense. But yeah, and I think my book, the theater book, translates for any event. You don't have to be an actor or a writer or a director. You can be a comedian. You can be a dancer. You can be a mime. Yes, hi, I was a mime. I was a mime in New York for several years. I was with the American Mime Theater. But I'm just saying, any type of event, even if you're doing a fundraising event, you know, I think my advice kind of holds true for any kind of live event, because even if you're doing a fundraiser, you're going to spend money on that fundraiser. You're going to spend thousands of dollars between booking the venue and advertising and, you know, whatever. Like, yeah, you'll get silent auction items. You might get a liquor sponsor, because also creating an event to raise money is one of my avenues of fundraising. And it's going to be patchwork. You're not going to raise all the funds in one place. And then I also advise people to reverse engineer, figure out how many shows are you doing? How many seats? How much are you charging for the tickets? Well, what's the maximum you can make? Well, cut that in half, because you're not going to make the maximum. You'll be lucky to make 50% of the maximum, because part of your marketing plan is 2-for-1 tickets and discounted tickets. It's better to sell out every seat at half price,
right,
you know, than 20% of the seats at full price. So that's why I say, find out your maximum, cut it in half. And if that's not enough, up the ticket sales. You know, like selling $20 tickets is not for a theater show. I'm not talking about stand-up comedy, because theater is a little different. You need more moving pieces, right? You need sets and you need music and you need costumes and you need all these other things. $20 a ticket ain't going to cut it in 2026. I don't think it'll ever cut it again. You know, you might end up only getting $20 a ticket, but you're going to have to charge $40 a ticket to get that 20. Because like I said, you're going to be doing the 50% discounts or the 2-for-1 tickets.
Well, maybe if they did a totally nude show, so they wouldn't have to spend so much on wardrobe.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's getting into a different field though.
Well, it says,
but anyway, it's just practical advice. It's just practical advice that from my lived experience of having done this for almost 2 decades, you know.
So you've been doing it since you were 5?
I was actually 4.5 when I started.
Oh, okay. That's what I thought. Hi, I'm Judy Fenderson, Certified Forensic Humourist and host of Done Way Past Funny. Thank you for watching our continued interview with writer, actress, comedian, and author Jennifer Lieberman. And please come back to watch more of our interview with Jennifer Lieberman. And when you come back to join us, bring a friend.